Rian and you're watching the Kriegsfabrik. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whichever time you may watch this. Welcome to the channel. This is the first episode and the introduction to the channel. So apologies for the glare. It's from this 2 or 3 PC screens here, so it's the only way I can do it. But let me take you through an introduction to the channel. So essentially, I'm trying to move away from what the typical scale modelers do on YouTube, which is essentially building a model and then painting it, airbrushing it, or painting it by brush. So I thought, let me do something different, but what can I do? And then eventually, about a year and a half ago, I stumbled on factories in Germany. I thought, okay, this is something different. Let's do that. Right? So it was... and if you're looking at the screen now, you'll see the factory. I can't recreate that, but I can create about a quarter of that portion, a third of more, about a quarter of that portion, including the crane that runs through the top. So just to introduce the channel, what it's all about is I'm trying to recreate this assembly line, how all the vehicles came through, and I know that different vehicles was created in different parts, like the holes in that were created in different factories and then shipped. What I'm saying shipped is sent via train lines or truck to the other factories. You got Krupp, you got factories in Essen. There's a lot of ones that I still need to get familiar with, so bear with me as I learn and explore as well going through it. So the factory, it'll be is actually is a scale model, and we'll go through that in a minute about how the factory will look like and where we are and what I have at the moment, which is quite a lot. So it'll recreate this assembly line through the factory. As you can see from the factory here, it'll create the assembly line, and as the holes comes in, and then progressively assembling the tanks until completion, and then it goes back onto the trains in my case, and then back out into the field. So that is essentially what the factory will look like. There's going to be a different number of vehicles. We'll go into that. You'll see me jumping around. It's just typical the way I do, but there is a sort of like linear line to what I'm trying to say. So we'll be incorporating a lot of different parts as well. I'll mention it a bit later again. I'm trying to recreate all the different kits, and I'm going to name a few that I have. Tamiya, apologies if hopefully I'm saying it all correctly. Tamiya, you've got minart, there's trumpeter, there's a number of things, border models. There's a lot of different models here, and to create an assembly line, I can't just do one model. I've got to use it, and I think I can use more, but at the moment I've got about 10 of each models, of the main kits. So we'll go through those in a minute. What I have, and as I talk through it, the factory and assembly line, and the mock-up drawing I've got on Tinkercad, which I'm using, which is a basic program, and then I'll go through it, and you'll understand sort of where I am, what I'm trying to produce, and then this is the first introduction, so then we're going to get started. So this is the kickstart. If you're new to the channel, be great if you can subscribe, comment, help me out with some details on the production, tell me what things are, because I don't know everything, and I know most of the things, but I'm trying to explore, understand how the assembly lines worked way back in the German factories, and I have very few photos available. But the main ones are there, and the understanding, different guys different on YouTube saying how assembly lines will work, and we'll refer to them, and it'll be good to have an interview at some point in time with these guys as well, and to help me out. And the idea is for everybody to form a community and understanding how these assembly lines worked, and how these tanks, cars, trucks, planes, ships, locomotives, Schnell boats and everything was produced, and how it was assembled and what goes into them. So I'm trying to recreate that. The models will also then have a bit of a backdrop of this factory, so just something different which nobody has attempted before. And I thought, okay, let me do that. Let me try a small project So that's where I am. And I've told a lot of people, I'm in South Africa, Cape Town. So I've told a lot of people what I'm doing around in South Africa. So few people know what's happening. So if you're one of the first people, it would be good if you can subscribe, join the channel, follow, comment, help me out. And there'll be potentially a Patreon channel as well with more content and things like that. And essentially there'll be a lot of models. So I'll be building most of the models, but just to a certain level. The last few models will only have, as you can see from the factory, will have detailed parts and with photo etch parts coming in, and there's different parts and different things. There's a lot of detail going into it. So, but from the 10 kits, let's say, I'm probably going to finish about 2 or 3. The rest I'd like to give away to subscribers. So I want to have like maybe a monthly or maybe 2 weeks draw, and then try and ship a kit to you. And you can complete it. We just got to work out how the shipping is going to work and where it's going. So, but that's the idea, and to donate it to people. So then at least you can build your own model and you can get something free. So that's the incentive of joining the channel to some degree. But we're also learning together, and we, if you want, it's something to look forward to, hopefully, in your instance, and that you want to follow. So I'm anticipating this is going to be a number of years, because building the factory, the train lines that goes in, and then you're looking at the tank line, all different tanks and everything that comes through. I'm talking about motorcycles. There's a lot of different things that's going through the factory. That's already and you'll see on the back I've got racks with a little bit of the models. That's not all of it. There's a lot all over the room, underneath as well. So there's quite a bit of capital outlay already. So I've got that. I've got an idea of how to build a factory and how it should look and what I want to recreate, and then what goes in. So the next step is to build a factory and take it through. So, and then so the channel is essentially geared towards everybody, people starting out. And for me, I'm starting out. I'm trying to learn different techniques. I've got understanding of how the assembly line works, more or less. So that is my understanding and how it works, how the different parts, what the different parts are and how they go in. That I'm going to learn and discover as I go through. So bear with me as we get it right, and we'll get it right together as you help to contribute. That is the idea of the channel as well, for everybody to contribute and say, well, it's done like this and you need to do it like that. So I'm going to follow some advice as well from people that would know a bit more insight on how the factories work. And then it's geared to the people starting up, to the beginners, intermediate, and also your fine scale modelers and people that's been into the industry for a long time. So hopefully everybody can learn and contribute and help me different painting techniques. I've got mainly going to use airbrush. I've got a lot of models, a lot of figures, a lot of photo etch parts. So that's all going to go into the factory. A lot of toolboxes, different things that you don't normally see, and machines that you don't normally see, and we'll look at them now, which will go into the factory. And I know that they are in different factories. I'm trying to create one factory, and at each point in time I'll show, well, that was made in a different factory, and you'll see now. So welcome to the channel. Once again, it'll be good if you can subscribe, join me on this long journey. That's 20 years, 30 years. So I'm trying to put out content at least once a week. I'm going to try twice a week for Patreon subscription. The shows will be released before coming onto YouTube. So that's the idea. You get a bit more exclusive and behind the scenes, longer viewings as well. I'm not going to do a 10-minute session putting it out. We're looking at about an hour per slot coming out once a week or maybe twice a week. So that's the duration. It could be longer. From my experience from watching YouTube, and my understanding as well, YouTube is becoming a more sort of like taking over. People want to watch documentaries and series, so from my experience of watching channels as well, I don't want to watch 10 minutes, I want to watch longer, and some people don't want to watch that, so you're free to look through and decide what you want to look at, but it should be interesting to follow everything. It's going to be quite a lot of detail, so I'm making longer episodes because I want to convey that detail across to you. So let's look through everything that we've got here so far and where we are, and I'll bring in the model as well, and you can see on Tinkercad my idea and how it's going to work. So essentially, first of all, first picture, and sorry if I jump around with pictures, but hopefully there's a bit of a trend going on here in terms of following through. So that's the factory. You'll see from the top far back, hopefully the mouse is following on a screen, you'll see the crane at the back as well. So that's bringing in the different hulls and different vehicles and engines and to the front and the back, and also towards the end of the factory it will pick up the tank, the completed tank, and then and obviously I have to sneeze there. Excuse me. All right. So, and it brings in the completed tanks. Well, it takes the completed tank and then it pulls it up on a platform wagon, platform train, and it carries it out into the field. So that will all be shown in the example. Okay, next picture we got is typically, let's go to this one first of all. Right, so this is typically what will see, which you won't regularly see, which you will see on this channel. For instance, these are the fusion machines that are recreated, or the initial first stages of the tank. This is, I believe, is a Tiger tank where the top turret is drilled and drilled out. And you'll see this I've actually recreated already on a resin machine. I've got Creality. Most of the projects is, most of my equipment is from Creality. So we've got, I will repeat it again later on in a program. We've got a resin printer, filament printer, laser cutter, and then what else is on there? Yeah, it's just a Creality cleaning station, but it's mainly Creality. So this turret drilling machine, let's call it that, because I don't know the correct terms for it, but we'll discover it as we go along. That I've already designed and recreated, and it's there. It could get better, and it will get better. But the initial concept is there. We have and I believe that's sort of like inlaid in cement, and then you've got the turret drill over it. What I don't have is the little ladders, and the base is there for the worker to walk on. But the tool stand and those things I don't have. The tools and everything I do have, and that's photo etch, and that's quite detailed, and I'll fill it in. So that's already been created. So I've got the design already. It's all been measured out, and the factory has been measured out according to, so if we go back here, how did I start? So, well, I started with measurements, obviously, and trying to recreate more or less what the scale would be. So I started off here in the middle with this little black man, always black overall, dark overall, and I looked at, I'm thinking, okay, he's probably like 1.7, maximum 2 meters, but I don't think it'll be 2 meters. Let's say 1.7, 1.9, I'm about 1.9. So the black line is little lines marked off on the pillars, and it's all a steel structure. So the black lines are sort of like marked there, and I think it's there for safety reasons as well. So I figured out that's about 2 meters, and then I just measured up on the pillar, up on top, and I've got more or less the correct heights for the factory. But every factory is different. Well, most of the factories are different. Different built, different lengths, different widths, different heights. So I've got more or less it recreated to these dimensions. My width is not that much, and the length is obviously only a quarter, as I said. But And then I'm looking as well at the Tiger tanks. Well, this is not a Tiger tank. I don't know if it is or not, sorry. But I'm looking at the tanks and how many can fit in and how much will fit across. So that's how I started my measurements. So coming back to your turret drill machine, so that is all designed, and a turret drill machine is designed around the dimensions of, well, obviously the 135 scale of a Tiger tank, and you'll see later on Tinkercad where I started, and designed everything around there, everything included. You'll see from it the turret drill, essentially big laying machine, as I understand it correctly, if that's a correct term, that spins around, and that actually spins around. I want to have a bit of animation in the factory, so I want to have that movement of the crane as the trains comes in, movement of the turret machines, movement of the drills, factory sounds and everything as well. I want to recreate that so we can get a bit of a different experience. It's going to be accurate. I can't recreate everything from the 40s. I don't know what's going on in the 40s and what happened and how everything works, but I'm going to try and replicate it as closely as possible. So that's the first one. Then you have different drills as well. This has all been designed already in Tinkercad, but very basic, you'll see now. And this is sort of like the top holes as well that's been drilled to these machines as well. On this, you'll see there's like a rail running where the machine moves backwards and forth, and as well on with the tank sits on these rails in the bottom as well, and that's how they actually adjusted, obviously, the tank or the drill moving forward and backward where they needed to drill precise holes on the top of the tank. Then coming on to the next one, you'll have a similar drill, but this is for the side drill. I think we call it a radial drill. Help me out. It should be the correct term for it. I'm trying to get the right name for it. I've got a few names of what these machines would be called. We're talking about late 1930s machines in German factories. So if you know what it is, I've got a few examples, and we'll talk through it in the next couple of shows, what they would be and what they looked like. But you can see fairly much what it looked like from here. But this is specifically for the drilling of the side of where the wheels and the axles will go in. So that's the drilling of the side and the holes and everything through. Then coming on to the next one, you've got, apologies about it, let's quickly just go back here. That is your next one. Let me just go on to the next photo. That's also a bit of installation into the factory. You can see as well the crane dropping in the engine into the tank from here. Just coming back to it, there's another close-up photo of them drilling in the side holes where the axles goes in. So this recreate, we're talking here about everything. Apologies if it's a bit small. I'll try and make it a bit bigger. That's not working. Let me try that. There we go. So you can see as well the machines. I've got that designed and everything, and I'm busy working on this front fastener to the tank that obviously holds it in place. And then you've got this rig as well that moves up and down on the rails, but you've got these drills coming in on the side, drilling obviously there where the axles will go through for the wheels. So that's that picture. We've seen that one. Here's another picture as well from two of the machines. Let me just increase that a bit for you. Once again, the top drilling machine, the side drills. I'm not too sure what's going on there, but we'll figure it out as we go along. You'll see a lot of detail on here. Welding machines, gas bottles for welding. That will all be recreated in the factory. It will have that detail. Let's go further. That's also for the wheels, drilling the wheels or the hubs. Let's call it that. Let's call it that for now. There's another photo of the machine drilling that, the hub as well. Then obviously the crane has got this a little controller box, or the controller sits in his in this hanging little unit or house, which is connected to the this is a different factory, an older, obviously, and a different crane, but it the person sits in there, and you'll see from here a little control box. I'm trying to recreate a bit of that to some degree, but there's another photo here which we'll stumble on, but it's a bit better in terms of that. Then you've got, let me just find the other photo before we talk about this one. Where is that now? There we go. Right. So in the initial factories, and I believe that was in Krupp, help me correct that, the Krupp factory where the holes came from and was produced. So this is your whole welding rig, as I understand it. A lot of detail. If my eyes pick up quite a lot of detail. Yeah, let's leave it there. So you see at the back of it, the photo, is all the steel lying there, and then you've got these little rigs which the tank goes into, and then that I want to recreate as well on the starter. You'll see the factory design in a minute, but I want to recreate that as well. The start point, how everything gets done, and you'll see from the other picture I've got here, the inside and how they weld the tanks and how weld the different compartments and putting the tank together. That you don't see, and I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody recreating that. And I thought, okay, well, let me do it. If I want to do it, let me do everything as close as complete and properly as possible. Okay, there'll be a few things missing, but I'm going to try and recreate that. So I'm trying to recreate that. So as well, for these guys welding, I'm trying to recreate that flicker of the welding rods, whether it's gas or the electric. I'm trying to recreate that. So I've got a bit of electronics. I need to go through that as well and understand how that works and recreate that. But I've got a flickering, so I'm trying to recreate that, and then I'll have that in the factory as well. So there's something unusual, things you won't see, that'll go into the factory. Coming back to that, once again, also a different factory where the back of the turrets, the turret wall, if I'm using the right terms, where that was bent to the right shape, and which you don't see. I'd like to recreate these machines, and that maybe in the future we will do a separate slot on having a section for trying to recreate this machine and understanding how it worked. And well, I understand more or less how it works. It bends it on this little platform, and it bends the turret a long portion of steel. It obviously bends, but it's just amazing, yeah, that it gets bent in this shape. So that is a future thing to do, definitely, from my point of view. Coming back to the crane, you'll see here as well, this is mainly, well, more or less the crane I want to recreate, because I've seen it in most of the factories and the other one as well. But you can see from here as well the way the little control box hangs off the crane and how it works and running through it. Now the crane, that's a different episode, and it's still on a development, but I was looking to recreate that so it moves by motors, but I'm trying to figure it out. So it's going to get to that stage, because I want to make it move on its own with motors on the side, and then also the crane or the hook running across. So that's all going to be motorized. I'm going to try and have it cordless as well. So that's another project that I'm working on. You'll find a lot that we're working on certain things, and it's typically I don't know how your guys' evening works when you're doing scale modeling, but I'm pretty much one night I'm looking at something, and then I'll find out I'm focusing on something different. I might go into something specific on a vehicle's motor or something that went in, and I'll spend a whole evening just researching that and trying to get as much as I can on it, and then archiving that for future use. So it will vary. It won't be, okay, I'm building the factory, and the whole number of episodes will be for the next year or 2 years will be on a factory. it will be different things as it comes together, and that's the idea, because that's just how I work. I essentially got a very short attention span, so I'm trying to do different things, and that's for me, it keeps it interesting. So bear with me. Hopefully you like that as well, and you'll that's the way the channel is going to work. So that is, once again, that's the crane. I've seen a number of recent videos from German locomotive repairing warehouses where they've got a crane, so I know more or less what the design looks like and everything, and how it works and how it runs. And there's different ways for me to run it on as well. It's either be on rails, or I know I've got an aluminium X rods running through as well with wheels, so similar to what your resin your filament printers works on that as well. So there's different ways of recreating it, but hiding that behind, as you can see as well, there's a bit of a skirting, so hiding a lot of stuff there. We'll get into a bit later on as well about the factory and how the metal frame was designed, but I've got that down to a T. Let me show you quickly a bit of it so you can get an idea. And hopefully this is my first episode, so hopefully it picks up quite well. But essentially I've got these aluminium, the ceiling and for construction aluminium, and I thought, okay, I looked at that and I thought, let me put two together. And when I measured it, it looked more or less, I've been to a lot of industrial buildings, so it looks to me more or less about the dimensions and your, I think I call it your I-beams, if I'm right. So hopefully that picks it up correctly. There's a bit of a millimeter or two off here. I will talk about that later on. You won't see it. Well, I know about it. So, but that looks for me, and you will have two of these because you've got two now connected with like supports all the way through. You've got different things that sits on it, that runs through it, cables, pipes and everything that runs through it, ventilation units, which we need to explore still further down. But that is essentially the frame and the structure. And to me that looks pretty convincing when you're looking at the photos, and in terms of scale as well. So I'm using that, right? And hopefully, well, that's as close as we're going to get to it, or I'm going to get to it in my opinion. So just going a bit further, they've got these as well. I believe this is let's just read it. This is the bath of the Panzer at the Krupp factory. So this is where I got my understanding from, that a lot of these, the original manufacturer was in the Krupp factory. So that is where that comes from, the dipping of the hull. I'm not too sure if it was painting or if it was what exactly it was done, what was done and the reason for that, but we will explore that. Coming through a bit further on as well, another close-up of this is another close-up of the welding rig for the tanks, and so I'm trying to recreate that as well, that we've seen already at the factory. Here's another photo of the tank. Ek kom maar in, kom gou vinnig. Okay, ek gaan nog 'n paar minute wees. This is another photo of the tank. This is another photo of the tank welding. Sorry, this is another photo of the tank drilling. This is another photo of the turret drill, which is already, as I said, is already been designed. And as I said, it looks to me like that is like cast into concrete, or a cement or concrete. Well, let's call it cement. Foot. So I'm trying to. Another thing is sort of I'm concerned about is whether the factory floors were actually bricks or cement, because cement was invented at that point in time. And how I'm going to do my factory, I'm thinking, for keeping simplistically, I might just have large blocks of cement that runs through it. Then going through it, this is another photo of one of the factories. Well, it's actually a wind tunnel for the Messerschmitts where they got tested. So that's coming up in another episode. You'll see on the side here, on the right hand side, you've got these I'm assuming it's air ventilation or air control or heating. I'm not too sure what it does, because I need to find out exactly what it does. If somebody knows, please help me out. How it connects and where the pipes ran to. Did it run through another building that supplied water or air to it? I'm assuming it's water and it's heating or cooling for the factories. And because I know there's vents on top, and then you've got this little engine running inside, which obviously is a turbine that spins the air. So it's either injecting or extracting air, hot or cold or fresh air, in and out of the factories. I don't know what it does. I just know it's there, and there's a couple of them in here. So that's essentially this will get built as well into the main factory one day. Then coming down further to some more photos here for you, you'll see here as well. Let's make that a little bit larger. These were the Hanemags, I believe, but just the detail that goes into here. So I've got, I think, about 7 or 8 Hanemags. So this scene will be quite easily recreated. So let's just see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8, 9. I'll probably have about 5 of them, and the last 3 a bit more complete. But you'll see from here, as everything goes in, it's very interesting, a lot of detail in here. Yeah, let's just quickly talk through this picture. You've got the main chassis, and then as the engine and everything goes in, it gets built up, and then at the back you've got the side panels going on and all the tools and everything like that, and detail going on. But at the back of the factory you see all these details, the wheels, if I may call it that, little work benches, the mud guards. There's a lot of detail. I will recreate this as close as possible for how it works and how it was put together. It's just and that you don't see, once again, you don't see anybody doing these type of scale models. And once again, obviously, or having, I would say it's difficult to have the financial means to do it and to put it all together. So yeah, small project. Right, so that is essentially the main photos of the factory. Just this last photo quickly as well to conclude. It's an older, I think this is from the First World War, I'm not too sure, I need to look at it again. But you've got a factory here as well, with the workers and getting together, standing on, I need to work out exactly what it is, but you'll see on the right hand side on the top, this it looks like you'll see on the right hand side here, it looks like an office that overlooks the warehouse and everything that's going on. So obviously it helps and aids and guides in the building of the vehicles. So I want to recreate that, because I want to take some photos out of the office onto the workshop floor area. I think it'll make a nice photo. And I've got that little office furniture and desks and drawings and stuff that I can recreate for people. Sorry, for the let's call it the supervisors, monitoring what's going on and making sure the production is correct. So I want to recreate that. I think that will be quite nice. Just something different. So not too sure I'm going to do that. If it's going to be, I think it's going to be too difficult to do it on a resin printer. I might do it on the laser cutter and cut that out and then replicate that. So that's essentially that. And that essentially concludes the introduction for the main factory. And the next part of the video will go into the Tinkercad sketch and how that was done exactly, and how the factory and what's going to go into it. Because as I said, once again, you've got the main factory train lines going in to drop off equipment and steel into the factory, and then obviously picking it up and coming out of the factory into the field. So that's the next part of the video for the introduction. So bear with me. My wife has called me. I'm off to have dinner quickly. Welcome back to section number 2 of this. Welcome back to section number 2 of the Kriegsfabrik. This is the part where I'm running through the design of the factory, my sort of idea, my concept, and what I'm building. What I'm trying to recreate, and what I'll be doing throughout the channel. So essentially, as we're looking through it here, this is the factory. There's quite a bit of pieces from here, and quite a bit of detail from here. Let's quickly look at just the main first concept. Bear with me, I haven't been on Tinkercad for a while, so let me just get used to finding my way around it. That is essentially the first design that I had of the turret drilling machine. And let me quickly just get into it from a bit of a different angle, of a better angle, so you can see it. Okay, so there you have it. That is the turret drilling machine, and you've got, that is essentially your dimensions of the 135 scale Tiger tank, the hull, and then you've got this, so you've got the top drilling turret machine over here. So that's been designed, that's been printed off in resin. It's somewhere in the room. I'll pick it up at some point in time and show you exactly what I've done here, but I've got a bit of more detail to go onto it and to be printed out and to be just fine-tuned. But that is the main frame of the turret drilling machine. And then you have the cutting, or let's call it the lay, that fits underneath that spins around. So that's been designed essentially. So that's one of the machines going in there. Let's just quickly look at the factory and a main walkthrough of what it will look like. So that's essentially the factory. If you're looking at the dimensions here, and I don't know if it's going to pick up the dimensions. It has the dimensions, but I'm not too sure if it's going to pick that up. So but you're looking size-wise about lengthwise down 1.7 meters, and in width is about 830 centimeters. Let me repeat that again. You're looking at about 1.7 meters down and 0.83 of a meter, or 1,700 millimeters length, 830 millimeters in width. The height varies compared to where the crane is running over, and up to the ceiling, obviously. So that we'll get into a bit later. But the factory is going to be split up in 2 portions. So, and we'll get to this part of the factory now. You'll see this side, there's another, the blue bits is essentially the floor area. You'll see there's a train line running in here, and I'll get into that in a minute. So what you have here is the factory will be into 2 portions. This is the factory floor, what will happen here is as follows. Once again, I know that the factory was split in many different factories, but essentially understand that the holes were created in the Krupp factory. So that's the top portion of it. You've got the holes coming in over there. That's another one there. That's the measurements. You know, basically, if you measure, you get a similar measurement that I get. It looks like about 9 centimeters across. you get the same dimensions as I get, should be, and but that is essentially your that essentially is your target tank dimensions there. So the tanks will come in. Those first two will be the rig actually that we showed earlier on. Those first two will be the rig that I showed earlier on, and where the welding rig is, where they get welded, and then you've got the next machine, which is the turret drilling rig or turret drilling frame. From there you have the overhead drilling for the top hatches. That's been designed roughly, and then this is a machine for drilling the sides where the axles go through. So the top of it, once again, at the top of the factory will be, as I said, the production in different factories, and the bottom part of it will be the start of the holes where they come in. So it runs logically, but it's not in the same factory. I know that. Once again, there'll be a lot of sarcastic comments coming through and a lot of jokes, hopefully. Well, that's the way I normally come across. So don't tell me it's not in the same factory, because I know it, but just drop the comment and say, hey, it's not in the same. I'll appreciate that bit of sarcasm. So and in the bottom you've got, if you're looking at here at the bottom, there's about 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 Tiger tanks. There probably might be room for a 10th one, but I've got 10, so that's how much will fit in. And that's, you're looking, and that's that length is your 1.7, as it says on top there, 1.7 meters or 1,700 millimeters, 170 centimeters. Big floor area, could be bigger. I just don't have the space to make it bigger. I'd love to make it bigger, but I just don't have the space to make it bigger. So you've got the Tiger tanks down at the bottom. So in the middle will be tables, additional equipment and everything like that, steel, workers running up and down. You know, all of these models will be full of little figures sitting on toolboxes, different things and machines and stuff, attending to the assembly of the factory, of the tanks and the different vehicles coming through. So the green bit on top here is the crane. I'll zoom into it now, you can see a bit better. But essentially my understanding is how it works is, and from the photos I've seen, and I'll put up that photo some other time, of the factory where the trains used to come in and the platform wagons used to come in and load the completed Tiger tanks on and then out into the field. So I've recreated that for a train line to come in, and we'll go through that in a bit as well. And I've got another concept as well, so this might be a 3-part session to this. So this is the second part, once again, with the Tinkercad drawing, how a mock-up of how it will look, what exactly to scale. So that's it. This little ring that's up here, or oval, is going to be the production of the Kit and Crud Rud, the motorcycles, because they were produced in a different factory on a different belt, like an oval loop that I go. And there's quite a lot of video content on that. Well, when I say a lot, it means like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, quite a lot of detail. So that's a separate feature in the factory. So there's a lot of ways to recreate this. My original thoughts was, okay, they may have a clean factory floor and I'll have different units slotting into it. Like for instance, this machine will slot into it. Apologies if you hear the dogs barking. So my original thought was that I will have a clean factory floor and then I'll have different units. Like that is essentially A4 and A4. So my original idea was to have a clean factory floor. So my original idea was to have a clean factory floor and then have these different units slot in. For instance, this For instance, this tiger tank frame drilling machine is designed on A4 paper, roughly. That's the size of it. So I was thinking, let me have a clean floor, and then I can slot in these units as I want to use it. But then that could work, which means I'll have more floor space, and maybe I will do that. I'm not too sure how I'm going to go ahead. That could work. That is maybe an idea that still could work, because I can clean up the floor if I want to produce. Then later on, there's a lot of things that's coming through the factory. You've got vehicles, tanks, trucks, motorcycles. You've got aircraft coming through, boats, locomotives. There's a lot of that I need to mention still, but those are the main lines that's coming through the factory. We're looking from everything from the mid 1930s to the mid 40s when the war ended. So that's coming through the factory. So I was looking at, should I have a different sections to slot in and open up the floor, because when I do the aircrafts and those things, I need bigger floor space. But also at the same time, I'd like to, when I shoot the tiger tanks from the front, so the bottom part is the front of the factory, I'll be working through the bottom and the left hand side, the back of it, and the back and the right hand side is to the wall of my room that I'm working in. So when I'm taking photographs and video footage, it'll create a nice backdrop for the machines at the back. Once again, they're not in the same factory, but it gives a bit of that factory feel. So I'm thinking, how should I do it? Should I remove it or not? Maybe we should have a poll on it at some point in time and say, must it be part or mustn't it be part? But a lot of the stuff will be blurred out. If you're looking at for instance, at the tiger tank, there'll be a lot of focus on front of the tiger tank, and the rest of the photos or the video footage should be blurred out, which gives a bit of a lot of like factory feel. So I'm going to see. I'm just careful of doing different units slot in it when I remove it and move it out, that it gets damaged, and I don't want that. But at the same time, it makes it creating it easier for taking the unit out, working on it, maybe filming it at a different portion. So I'm going to think how I'm going to do those back portions. But essentially, that's the factory floor. We'll get into the train line in a minute, and you'll see this red section and yellow section, what that is on the right hand side. Hopefully the mouse is following the production. But that is essentially it. If you're looking for it on the side, you will see you'll see the crane running on the crane that will run through there. And I'm busy designing a few things there, concepts that I'm looking at how to design it. On the one side here, you'll see my little office that's there, that's being designed, and that's going to be, I've got roughly the idea of the size it should be, but it needs to be drawn out and stretched out and fit into the floor. Once again, we're on the floor, right? So where do you put it? Do you put it on this side of the floor? My question is as well, how do I incorporate it? Because I like to incorporate it, but where do I incorporate it? Because I can't put it on the side because I need to work through from the side. I can't put it in the front because I need to work from the front. So is it a unit that I just slot in here on this side? Because you probably have, well, my understanding is the factory is just like one floor plate like this, but it could be 2 or 3 of them next to each other. So your bottom section of the wall and where the frame runs will just lead into another factory. So the ideal place to put the office will be down the bottom section, because you can take photos through as well down, and then if I need to move it out of the way and work in, that will create that, it'll create that space to do so. So I'm thinking to putting it that side. If I put it on the opposite side of the wall, that's a problem, because there is space, but I haven't seen, and I don't think it's a good idea putting it above these machines, and the crane is going to run through there as well. Here there's a bit more room, a little bit more room to put it on this side. So I'm thinking it's probably going to go in here somewhere. Right. So then that is the main factory, and we'll get into sort of the vehicles once again coming through it, and then coming on to this part of it. So this is the train line portion. The train line running in. So that is where you've got that. So this essentially, these drawings, apologies, I've got my gas heater on, so if you hear a bit of noise, it is freezing cold. So this part of the, maybe I should switch it off. Okay, so apologies for the sound changing. I had my gas heater on because it's freezing cold, so the quality should be a bit better now for you. I'll try and take that portion out in terms of volume as much as I can. So that's a train line coming in to the factory over there. It runs there. Let me see if I can click on that. No, I can't, right? So you've got the train line running in. So what these red portions are, the red rectangle and the yellow rectangle, is essentially the dimensions of the platform wagon where any vehicle got loaded onto, for all steel or products or whatever, or food, anything, could be food or whatever coming into the factory got loaded onto, or loaded off or onto. So that is the size of that, because I want to see how it fits. It's quite big, you know, so you're looking at the size of it and what can fit in. So what these two what these two rectangles are, is on the left hand side you've got your platform wagon, and I've got about 2 or 3 of them. I want to just make sure how many I have. I think I've got 2 of them at least, because I thought I got one. I want to show in the one on the train line. I'll show you the train line runs in a minute, coming into the factory and servicing the factory, because the factory needs to be serviced. Train carriages coming in, or flatbeds coming in, if I may call it like that now, coming in, getting loaded, and then getting out and being pulled out by another locomotive to go out, because you've got my understanding is you've got a shunter, which is a smaller diesel operating that will bring different carriages and things and flatbeds into the factory, and then obviously, so I'm thinking of the shunter bringing it into it, and then another one train line running on top, another one in the bottom with a turnout from there, that the main locomotive will come in and pick up those trains. So the one will bring it in, the shunter will bring it in on the top, and then the other train line, the locomotive will then come in and pull them out, and that you'll have that servicing in, coming out, right? So that's the way it will be recreated. So that's essentially a train line running in. I've seen photos where the train line runs straight through the factory. I can't let it run straight through my wall. I'd like to have a bigger room to do it, maybe eventually. So I'm going to let the line in there in the factory. That's what I'm thinking I want to do at the moment. And then coming down further down the line, this is once again, it's just a mock-up again of the size of the flatbed and the shunter coming in, or diesel locomotive coming in to drop it off. So I'm trying to see how big this, and this next portion of blue, sorry, it extends a bit, is essentially, let's look at it from the side, is essentially the other portion of board or floor area I can build on, which is about 600 millimeters by 2000 or 0.6 of a meter width, and then 2 meters or 200 centimeters in length. Quite big as well. Big in length but narrower than the factory, obviously, if you're following my dimensions. So that's it. And the reason is, this is just the top train line, and that the turnout and the servicing portion will come to the front of it there. And then at the back here, you'll have a building that I'm busy designing as well. And you can see that's a roof trusses that's there. Let's zoom into that a little bit. You can see it a bit better. I'm busy designing the roof trusses, and you'll see in the next part 3, bit of concepts and things and what I'm trying to recreate. This is the building that services your workshops and resting areas for your different trains, your diesel locomotive, so the green one there in this instance is where the shunter will come in. That is your, in my instance, I don't have a BR, I'm looking for a BR52, but I've only got a BR86, which is sufficient for my purposes. So that will come in there, and it'll be a workshop and a servicing area and a resting area for the locomotives. And you'll see from the part 3 of the session how the building will look like. It is a German, obviously a German workshop and building, which I've seen from one of the Spur 1 trains, model trains on YouTube as well. So I'm trying to recreate that at the far end of the factory. So essentially, that is a quick rundown for you of the factory and how it looks. You've got, as I mentioned again, the factory there, and then as I mentioned again, you've got the factory there. As I mentioned it again, you've got the factory there, and then from there you'll have the train line running down with the servicing in the bottom as well, the turnout coming in and out to take the carriages or the flatbeds out of the factory. And then at the end of that is the workshop or resting areas for the locomotives. So thank you very much. That concludes part 2 of a now 3-part session. So the third part will be my sort of layout of the factory and how things will work, a bit more photos and everything like that, and then a bit of a story to that and how it will all start. So stick around for part 3. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to this now 3-part series for the introduction. So the next is a bit of drawings and concepts and everything around my thought process and what I want to recreate, and hopefully I can recreate as exceptionally well as these guys have done it on different YouTube channels. So bear with me, because I'm working off freeform, which is a different format of working things. So where's it all gonna start? Right, it will all start essentially here. Let's zoom in here quickly. So essentially, where will it all start? It'll all start from here. I'd like to start it with just a plain area and then build it up from it just being soil and grass and everything and that. But let's start here. Let's say there was a train line running through, and you've got this little hut with this caretaker or this guy that has his little farm here. He's got a little maybe at that stage he looked after the signaling for the train line coming through. So you have him, a lot of detail and quite a lot of nice detail in here. His wife coming back on a bicycle back over the train line to see him, and you've got here a little hut. He's got a little grow area here. There's sort of a chicken coop and things like that. So I'm trying to recreate that portion of it. Coming back to the bottom part of it here as well, you can see her as well crossing there. So I'm trying to recreate that. That'll change. It'll keep on changing. The view will change, but I'm trying to recreate that. That's the bottom right hand side of it, showing the planting and that. So what I'm trying to do is I'll try and recreate as best as possible this, a bit more detail to it, the little hut, and then I'm trying to recreate. Sort of my story will be one day a German reconnaissance motorcyclist will drive around, turn up, and he'll say, hey, we're putting up a skyscraper here. It's 2025. We're putting up 20 floors in here. No, he'll stop and he'll say, yeah, we're going to build a factory here, and eventually we'd like you to be the caretaker of the factory and open up the gates and manage the trains and everything going in. So he will be on the edge of the train line, of the factory, coming in, and then he will assist there, and there'll be different things, and eventually there's obviously a lot of bicycles as well, because a lot of the way back then, my understanding as well, going out to the field wasn't all vehicles in that. It was bicycles, it was on horses, it was on different carriages, and a lot of different things as the troops went out into the field or onto war. So there'll be a scene as well on a train line as well, yeah, where there'll be a number of bicycles lying around and troops resting. So it will start off like this. My concept, well, I'm thinking how I want to tell a story is a little hut, motorbike coming in, and eventually a field kitchen turning up, feeding your workers and your welders and that, and then the train stopping with the platforms with the steel coming out, the trusses going up, and I'll try and reproduce as good as I can from a story point of view, and just so it looks interesting and visually pleasing to everybody. So I'm trying to recreate that as a bit of a story as to the construction, how it started. It obviously worked completely different way back then. I don't know how it obviously Germany has a lot of areas and where all the factories were, but this is a different story. So we can follow with that, and there'll definitely be some human strange things like on episodes. I was really thinking about one is like well, today's episode is going to be about Tiger Tank, and also about there was an oil spill in the factory, and how did that happen. Stick around to find out more. So things like that, a bit of humor, bit of storytelling, and things that will happen in factories. So once again, that'll be that. So it'll be the train line dropping off, the factory being built, and then the little hut and a caretaker taking care of it. I've got to still design how I want things done around that area in front of the factory, and with different roads running into it, because I need to, apart from the train line, I need to have vehicles accessing that as well. So you've got a lot of extra things like delivery trucks. You've got from the Mercedes-Benz, I believe it's 170V. I need to read up a bit about myself again, but 117V Lieferwagen, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, which delivered a lot of things: produce, beer, wine, milk, everything as well, to different places in Germany. So why not? Yeah, you'll have your trucks coming in, but it might be the officer might insist on, hey, I want, bring some champagne and deliver it. Once again, to caveat, there'll be a lot of things here German related, swastika related. It is not there to promote anything wrong. It's there for educational purposes. That is my understanding as well. If you can show that, if it's for educational purposes, and this channel is educational purposes, it's a hobby. It's nothing more. It's not going to impersonate itself to be anything more, anything different than that. That's what it is, for educational purposes. And there'll be a caveat on the videos to say that as well. So if you've seen the swastika and things like that, it's there for educational purposes, because that's the way history was. And that's the way I want to tell things, to replicate it. And once again, you're probably asking, well, why Germany? Why not American things? Well, let's start off with Germany. I've been following German for a long time. In my opinion, they produce the best machines and best war machines. And then eventually we'll spill over into the US. I've got a bit of US vehicles and things like that, but that's a different... There's more German models and everything created then, in my opinion, what I've seen from tamiya and things like that, than American or French. I've got a few French things. I actually got a World War I French model as well, with a taxi, and as they went with taxis to war in World War I. So I've got that as well. There's a lot of things in here. But we'll get into the final thing about what it is, and then there'll be a couple of videos coming on as well about what exactly is in the room and what is and how many of each. So we'll go through that in the next couple of videos. But coming back to here in a factory, you then have obviously you'll have the farmer obviously has a farming vehicle. So I have these, most of these models you'll see I have. Okay, I'll tell you if I've got them or not, but this one I do have. So the farmer will obviously have a farmer's vehicle, 170V Mercedes-Benz. That'll be one of the first vehicles going on to, well, it should be the first vehicle going on, because it'll be the first the farmer and the car, and then motorbikes coming in. Sorry, the farmer's car and then the bicycle. I need to find a woman figure that can push a bike across or can pedal. I think I might have something like that. But that is one of the vehicles we'll go in. Very excited to do that and start with that. It's at the back, and it's one of the first things actually on a factory floor. Well, not the factory. It's not, the factory's not up yet, but it's the first models. One of the first models that's on there. And eventually, in the factory, as you can see as well from Mini Out, they produced a tractor, 1936, with a cargo trailer. So as things were pulled in and out of the factory or onto train lines and that. So this is the typical recreation, what I'm trying to do. I probably might employ the farmer to drive the tractor, because it could be something you could do and say, well, apart from looking after the factory, can you help us bring some things in and out? And it'll be nice actually for the tractor and the trailer. Well, I don't have any space for it to stand, so it's got to be on top of his plot in his area. I'll fit that in there. So that's that part of that. Let me just see a bit further what's on here. Then coming on to the this is Spur 1. I can't remember who the guy is exactly did it, but this is Recreation of Scale 1 or Spur 1 as they call it. They call it Skaal 1. Sorry, I'm Afrikaans, but been speaking English for quite a long time. Reasonably well. So I might have some good phrasing on how to say things in Dutch or in German to some degree. Not enough. It will sound, reasonably good. I'll try and speak to my German friend and ask him to help me with the pronunciations of different words and different models where I can. So let me build up my knowledge together with you. If you already know, then help me or help the channel. So this is essentially I can't remember exactly what year this was. We can probably zoom into it and look at it what year. It looks like it's 2021, March 2021 it says on top there. So what I'm trying to recreate is this. And this is Braubach, which is an area in Germany, and it's a train line going through it. I read up about it, but I forgot about it now, what it is. But it's essentially, sorry, where it is, but it's essentially a train line running in there. And you'll see from here the way this got been built and designed. It is just beautiful. So that is essentially a better photo view. Sorry if it's not clear. It's difficult to take photos of media, especially on YouTube. So I'm trying to recreate, and all credit to the sources it's come from, and I will put those sources up at the end of the video as well. So that is essentially it's a well, you can call it double story. Let's call it triple story, because the ground, first and second floor office section, and you've got the main locomotive goes in there, and then at the back there's another portion for locomotive. But you can see here the detail that's gone in here in terms of creating the trusses. I'm busy designing this and trying to get something similar as well within the railway workshop. So you can see as well little spiral staircase running up. It will have lights and everything in. The factory will have lights, everything in as well. For instance, you'll see a lot of detail that you don't normally, what you normally would spot if you're looking. You've got to look at things quite closely to spot these things. But underneath, like the crane in the factory as well, they have lights underneath the crane that lights up the area that it goes to. It's just things you see in the locomotive workshops and restoration factories in Germany. Actually, what they did, quite advanced. But some people don't think, well, that's what I have. But for me, I didn't see it until recently, the last few weeks. I actually saw some video footage on what it looks like, and I thought, let me incorporate that, because it just gives a bit of different feel to the factory. So that's essentially the factory, bit of offices and things, and that is the portion where, as you can see from here as well, where the locomotive comes in, the servicing in the bottom area for the wheels and etc. for the train line. I think this is a BR52. It looks to me like, almost. Help me, it could be something different, but it looks to me like a BR52. That the 86 is got a shorter tender, but I think the tender is, there's no tender, it's attached to the train, right? So where coal storage is, where the BR58, my understanding is, and what I understand from trains so far, has got a separate tender at the back. I'll get into terminology with trains and everything for you precisely later on. My blessed, my nephew actually he's been working on the trains for 40 years. So he's in South Africa. He was fortunate enough to be one of 4 drivers of the blue train. So if you follow the blue train and that, we might put some pictures. He does bit of HO scale train modeling as well. So we'll visit him and have a good session, a couple of episodes with him as well on trains. So it's a number of things. You're looking at tanks, vehicles, locomotives, aircraft, and we'll get to that in a conclusion. But essentially that is the storage for the locomotive. A lot of detail here. The doors, how things look like, walls, a bit of flowers and weeds and things. So that's going to be recreated. And then you're coming into, once again, where we started, which is essentially the concept drawings by me on the different equipment and machines that goes into the factory. And once again, here is this is from another gentleman. I can't remember exactly where I got it from. I need to source this, but it shows you tucked means that's the stage over there, stage number 6, where they put different things in. They've got different stages, and actually they call it tucked 1 to, I think it was till 8 or 10. I need to just check it. I think it was until 8. But that is as I told you, the ventilating machine or ventilating unit, air unit, that it was sitting in the factory. And the factory will be exactly designed. You've got 2 I-beams. Let's call it I-beams for now. I'll rectify that later on, but it's I-beams, and it's connected diagonally with these angle iron, and then some plates with rivets going through that's been connected. So it'll be like that. The crane will be designed in the same way. But if you're looking at the way this is designed from the photos and from this model as well, it looks pretty accurate, in my opinion, the sizes of the million aluminium rods and everything that I showed you before. But essentially that is it in the conclusion. There's a couple of more photos here, but just a collection of everything. That essentially is the introduction to the factory and what it all will be about. So I'm excited to do it and start getting some momentum going. So welcome to the channel once again. It'd be good if you subscribe, comment, and then in a few weeks or so I'll create a Patreon page as well. I'd like you to contribute if you so kindly can, and then contribute to the channel. It helps me improve my video equipment and things like that, and then it will assist me as well to go on to different trips and things like that and get some more details and things and add to the channel. So that is essentially it, and thanks for joining me, and we'll catch up shortly in the next episode.